I'm in Florida. Sorry for the novel, it's a lot to unpack. My heart hurts. My husband had terminal liver cancer, diagnosed in February, but since January or so, I started taking care of all of the household duties. He fought a good battle, but cancer won. It took his life on December 23rd. We spent the whole year setting things up so I would be taken care of. We live in a fifth wheel and pay a lot of rent, I'm assuming. He transferred the title to the fifth wheel, our boat, and work trailer to me about a month ago. We went to his bank and had my name put on the account as well. I made sure that he spent lots of time with his family beforehand, and while his family was visiting, they took care of the cost of cremation. Husband wanted to be cremated and buried in a different city, not too far away. His burial lot is paid for, but I'm not sure what else it would cost to place him there. He had final expense insurance of $10,000. He also worked for a union. He was also retired. I am wondering how much it would cost to bury his average cost, and if it's possible to keep some of the final expense money because, well, I'm going to need it to pay for my rent and car. We had a car that he co-signed on. It's got $15,000 left to pay. I need my car for work, so I plan on taking over payments, $466 a month, and possibly refinancing it as soon as possible to get a lower payment. Our house is a fifth wheel, and husband spent lots of time prior making the property look great with landscaping, deck building, and also he built a boat ramp with a winch. I'm sad, scared, and confused. Not a fun way to spend the holiday weekend. To top it off, because he died on the 23rd and before the weekend, I haven't called his insurance or union yet, but I will on Monday. So I've sat here all weekend trying to keep it together. Also, I tried looking for a copy of our leases and can't seem to find it. So I wonder what is the best way to tell the landlord about my situation. I'm afraid they will tell me to move or evict me if my name isn't in the lease, but I do recall signing lease papers with him for the past few years. Our lease is monthly. Wouldn't that just be grand if they told me to leave? They might do it because it's waterfront property that he improved and they could charge more for it. They raise the rents every year, so that's my fear. If I did have to move, the fifth wheel can't move from its spot. It's not roadworthy, but it's very livable. We had a new AC unit and had the roof sealed this year. Husband told me that it's worth at least $15,000, so I have to sell it to leave the park. We also have a work trailer that's enclosed for storage. That was bought new for $5,000, but I would sell that too, plus the boat for $18,000. So many decisions to make, and a part of me doesn't want to stay in this trailer because everything reminds me of him. Plus, the area gets flooded easily during king tides and hurricanes. So I'm sick and tired of moving everything around during hurricane season. I love to find a 2-bedroom house near dry land that I can rent to own. My credit is 730. How much does it cost to enter into a rent-to-own house on average? So my questions. Best way to approach the landlords, should I wait to talk to them? How should I word it so I don't get kicked out so they can raise the rent at my property? Also, find no expense benefit. Is it common to not spend it all and have some left over to cover the cost of other bills? And any other advice you can help me with. I work from home doing some e-commerce and have a good business that makes $3,000 to $4,000 a month, depending. I am willing to listen to any advice that will help give me some security and peace of mind. So the answer to this one, right, is when you approach the landlord, just be upfront and honest with them. Ask them what you can do to make the transition of you taking over their payments as easy as possible for them. If they try to kick you out, you can still sell the fifth wheel and also all the other items and use the leftover money for a deposit to rent a house or apartment. Never do rent to own. Just rent and then save for a down payment for a house or a condo, or buy in cash depending on your income. Take care of the burial in the most respectful way possible. Then don't use any of the extra money for a few months in about 4 months, just so that you have a clear mind and clear path as to where your future is heading. Because there's a lot of uncertainties within this specific situation, because you really got to figure out what is your living situation actually going to be, right? Like you need to have a conversation with those people, with your landlord, to actually see, okay, what are the plans? And also, it's never really a good idea to be living in a fifth wheel in a trailer park that you don't really own that lot, right? Like you own a fifth wheel that can't be moved on a lot that is not owned by you. It's a very bad situation. So over time, even if they don't kick you out, I would say since it's a month by month thing, I would try to get that fifth wheel sold within like 1 to 2 months, plus the boat and everything else. And you could have a pretty nice stack of cash so that you could obviously have an emergency fund, but then also easily move into a apartment or a house. And also being able to work from home is very great, which would allow, especially with your credit score of 730, to easily be able to get into any place with a drop of the hat. This flexibility will allow you to figure out your housing situation with a lot less stress, especially if you are able to sell off everything in a pretty timely manner, because this is not a good place to live. And you even mentioned it where everything kind of reminds you of him, and you basically need to create a new start, right? Because you don't want to spend the next 10, 15, 20 years of your life constantly thinking or being reminded of him, right? Like obviously you love him, you want to remember him and be respectful to his memory, but he wouldn't want you to be stuck in the same mindset in the exact same place in basically a situation that's not really that great, right? Like he'll probably want you to move on. So keep that in mind. Like you need to really do some pretty hard thinking, and yeah, you really got to sell a whole bunch of stuff and get rid of the car. Like you could buy a cash car, or if anything, just pay off that car after you sell everything.